The government and the Supreme Court have been going head to head on whether or not to change the current system of appointment of judges in Supreme Court and High Court. To get into the root of the problem, let's see what the collegium system actually is. Take collegium system as the recommendation system. Basically, the CJI along with four topmost judges of the Supreme Court suggest the names of the advocates to the central government for appointments and transfers. But then the central government has no say in this process going forward. The central government can give suggestions, send the list back, and even conduct an IB investigations against the lawyers. But if the collegium sends even the same list back the second time, the government has to appoint them. Now you might have started to see what the problem government has with this. Let's see what the problem government has with the system. Well, the government thinks that because no one knows on what criteria the names are suggested, it lacks transparency and it is too secretive. In November last year, our Law Minister Mr. Kiran Rijiju had said that the collegium system is too opaque and it should be reconsidered upon. To add to that, our Vice President Mr. Jaideep Dhankar had said that the strike down of NJC by Supreme Court, which we will talk about NJC later, was a major compromise on the sovereignty of Parliament. Now that we know what problem government has with this system, let's see what solution government has to offer. The government basically wants a place in the collegium. In fact, this issue is not new. In 2014, the government had passed a bill in parliament called National Judicial Appointmental Commission Bill, which was later struck down by the Supreme Court in 2015, saying it was unconstitutional. The bill basically proposed that the collegium include the law minister, two prominent members from the civic society, the CJI, and four topmost judges of the Supreme Court. This essentially gave the government access to the collegium. Interestingly, this bill was supported by the opposition when it was introduced back in 2014, although now they oppose it. Now that we know all this, let's see why still the Supreme Court is against changing the status quo. The Supreme Court has been critical of changing the status quo since the very inception of this issue. In 2015, striking down the NJC Act by the government, the Supreme Court had said that giving the government last say on appointment would undermine the independence of the judiciary. Even the current CJI of India, Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, has been critical of changing the status quo. He has said that Supreme Court is the last arbiter of the law and the government must appoint the names suggested by it. Now to the conclusion. I think we both can agree that judiciary must be allowed to function without any interference from any other outer body. The NJC was a blatant attempt by the government to gain influence in the appointmental system of the judges. Imagine how catastrophic it would be if the current government or the future governments tried to misuse it. The NJC was itself filled to the brim with contradictions and biased laws. For example, remember those two members of the civic society which were to be on collegium team? Well, they needed not to know nothing about the laws or the functioning of the Supreme Court to be on that team. So essentially, a person who knows nothing about laws or the functioning of the Supreme Court could be dictating what judges are sitting on the Supreme Court. The second thing is that even if only just two members of the collegium team disagreed to a name, that name could not be appointed, thus giving the central government last say in what names are appointed in the Supreme Court judges as the Supreme Court judges. And at last, as the Indian Express article beautifully puts it, the answer to a faulty system is not to put a system in place that subordinates judiciary to executive control. That's it for today. Have a very good day.